Sinisterhood. Are you ready for a juicy episode today? Oh, we're gonna be so juicy today.
There comes a time when the world unites as one in their feelings about something. And I feel like in this tumultuous time, we can all agree that these two assholes are two of the stupidest,
Goddamn worst.
most problematic,
Certainly.
disgusting,
For sure.
cringe, so gross. Did I say problematic already?
Yeah. Harmful, terrible. In all
just
the ways.
terrible, awful, all around shitheads that I hope, because all they've wanted their whole life is fame.
Yes.
I hope that all these docuseries and podcasts that are now covering them and exposing what they're doing brings them the fame that they've been wanting. I hope now that there's so many more eyes on them that they really get the fame they've been looking for.
It's a real, what they call it, like a monkey's paw moment, right? Of like, I wish to be the most well-known person on the planet for 15 minutes. Is like, bitch, you can't control what people say.
No, also, why are you being well known? Is it because you were meeting the president and you shit your pants and CNN caught it and it's all over the news? So for 15 minutes, that's your story?
New
I
fear
don't want
unlocked.
to be well known for that, but you got to be specific in your wishes.
Yeah, you can't just be like, we're going to start a YouTube channel and someday millions of people are just going to be watching it. And it was like, and roasting you. You have to finish the end of the sentence.
Yeah.
You're like watching it and that's all, and not leaving comments like, stupid bitch, ugly. And here's the thing. If you're wondering who we're talking about, it's the Twin Flames universe, Jeff and Megan, who now go by Jeff Ender Divine and Shalia Divine.
The only thing I hated more than these people was having to spell her name 8,000 times while writing this, because it got to the point where I just had to keep it to the side and copy and paste it, because it's a made up name and therefore I don't know how to spell it and my brain couldn't compute it.
Certainly. It's what we'll get to how she found that name and found her. But these two, if you've never seen their videos or you haven't logged into your Netflix recently, he looks like the dirty rat face guy that you went to high school with that was a fucking dork back then and like grew up and thought he was cool. And she looks like the girl you went to high school with that ended up with that guy.
Yeah.
So in that way, they are very much perfectly matched with each other, because they both look like the douchebags from your high school that made good on a multi-level marketing scheme, which is essentially what happened.
Yeah.
TLDR.
Yeah. He's, man, what really grinds my gears about both of them is that they both think they are just so hot.
There's one video that they're shooting in their car I was recently watching about their sex, which we'll get to. But he has sunglasses on the whole time. And I was like, I would bet $1 billion majillion the life of everybody in the whole planet that motherfucker the whole time was staring at himself. Like you can just feel it, that he's just like, hey, like kick back and he's fucking staring at himself. And we've got 3 episodes to talk about it. I hate it.
Man, yeah. And my stomach dropped at the thought of them having sex, which is something they love to talk about.
And he's like, sex with your twin flame is so great. And she's like, sex is so good. I love it. It's my favorite. It's like whatever. It's like, right? Right, Jeff? The amount of videos I've been watching.
Dude, all she does is parrot him. She's just like a little parrot on his shoulder. He'll say a word like, and that's how you know that they're the one.
Yeah.
The one. Yeah. The one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one,
it's just,
exactly.
We're making fun of it, but when you get down to brass tacks, it's extremely harmful, dangerous, problematic, not just the rhetoric they're spewing, but also you can tell within their own dynamic that it is very toxic and unhealthy.
Yes, probably part 2. It might be in part 3, but there are I feel like the later videos, you start to see some fractures, that you start to see some moments. So it's all well and good and everything. So perfect, until it isn't.
Which, when you're running a cult, comes up hard and fast. Everybody thinks it's all rainbows and lollipops when you're starting out. And then, unless you're running a rainbow and lollipop cult, it doesn't work out.
Then it's rainbows, lollipops, and a lot of logistics. It's hard to get a rainbow on demand, but if you can do it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
you
gotta learn how to control the weather. Also, lollipops, there's a lot of flavors. How do you parse out who gets what?
So many.
Or certain days, certain flavors. Is it a grab bag like Dum Dums? Do you have mystery flavors?
Do you have those ones with the little ring that you used to get at the bank and you stick your finger through until it get all mushy, the paper? Man, those were good. Anyway, lollipops. So, Twin Flames.
Well, I'm Christy.
I'm Heather. Right? Me too. I'm Christy too. I'm also Christy. I just feel it. I'm also you. We're the same.
Oh, we are Twin Flames.
We so are. We totally are.
Well, let's get into it. Jeffrey Ion grew up in Lapeer, Michigan, where from a young age, friends say he was obsessed with learning everything he could about American business magnate Warren Buffett. Following his entrepreneurial interest, Jeff graduated from Western Michigan University's business school in 2010. Shortly after, he sold everything he owned and moved to California to work on a subsistence farm. Continuing with his newly adopted hippie lifestyle, Jeff moved to Hawaii in 2012, where he built a shack, began going by the name Ender Ionethos, and started the travel blog Ender's Adventures, named after his love for the sci-fi novel series Ender's Game.
So, well, yeah, he was a dork. Listen, let me just say, Wondery also did a podcast. They interview Eric Rogers, which is his friend. And he talks about, he's like, I busted in on my friend. And then it turns out he was watching the Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett's company, like results. Like he was essentially the earnings call. And he was like, I'm going to be a billionaire like Warren Buffett someday when he was like 13. So it is in that sense kind of a bummer that this kid's like so obsessed with greed and money and capitalism from such a young age that that's how he sees the world of like, how can I get there? How can I make my money?
And then he goes to business school and does a total 180 and is like, let's sell everything. I'm just going to move and be a hippie on this subsistence farm. And then to Hawaii. And Eric was like, yeah, I don't know. He just like sold all his shit and moved. But I would say, throw spaghetti at the wall, you're seeing what sticks. He's just like trying anything out already to see like, okay, where's my in for some kind of business? This is when like online things were really taking off. He starts this travel blog, but it's also like this lifestyle guru blog when he's in Hawaii. Yeah. And the whole, if I'm not mistaken, the plot to Ender's Game is about a guy that controls a mass of people from behind his computer, correct?
Yes, and it's interesting.
Well, there you have it.
There you have it. And also he and Eric as kids, they built gaming computers. They're into video games. And yeah, when he goes to Hawaii, he like builds a shack and then eats like only bananas for 30 days and is like, I'm going to let you guys know how it goes when I eat bananas for 30 days. And it's just kind of anything he can get to try to get attention. You see, it's 2012, the rise of YouTube. How can I get attention? Very briefly, I called the several court clerks to just because I was like getting legal documents and stuff. And one of them was the jurisdiction where he did his name change. And shout out to the court clerk because I just told her his original last name, Ion. And I said, I'm trying to see if there's any court cases. And she's like, yeah. And she goes, there's a name change here. And I said, oh, okay. Well, can you tell me, is it public record? She said, yeah, it has to be published, publicly. All this is public record. I said, so can you tell me what it went to what it turned into? And she said, it was Jeffrey Philip Ion, and it's Jeffrey Ender Divine. I quite nearly fell off of my yoga ball. I laughed so hard. I fell out. And she's like, oh, is that all you needed? I go, I'm sorry. It's that fucking Twin Flames guy. And she goes, oh my God, we're all watching it. And I said, well, I'm looking stuff up. I have a podcast. So shout out from the court clerk's office if y'all listening in Michigan.
There you go.
But that's like, on paper, that's his name now, Jeffrey Ender. That's how much you love Ender's Game.
He changed it several times, yeah, and then settled on that, saying it was his one true name and the only thing he will now answer to, which can you take something that belongs to someone else and now say it's yours?
I mean, you can. It's pathetic spell, but you can.
Yeah. Eric Rogers, Jeff's childhood friend, recalled to interviewers from the docuseries Desperately Seeking Soulmate, Escaping Twin Flames Universe, that it was around this time he noticed a drastic shift in Jeff.
He wanted to do life and career coaching, which At this point, as a 25-year-old, what meaningful career advice do you have to give?
Fucking roasted.
Fucking got him. Also, for all the tea from Eric when he goes, yeah, in 2008, Jeff finally lost his virginity when he was 21. And he texted all of us and said, I lost it. It's party time. So they all went and bought white t-shirts and wrote on Sharpie with Sharpies on the shirt, Jeff lost it. And he had a shirt that said, I lost it, and brought all his friends together for a party. And then I was on a walk, and I quite honestly almost threw myself in the sewer system and swam to the ocean and swam away because it was the most cringe thing I'd ever heard in my life.
That is beyond embarrassing, but also foreshadowing as to how important he thinks not just sex, but like bragging about it and kind of using women as ownership. Like, oh, I conquered this woman and I lost my virginity. You know, it's already at that age, he already had, you know, that kind of mindset. And then when you get a bunch of people that are willing to pay you money and listen to you, shit like that becomes very dangerous.
It's, yeah, when you put that out as an ethos of yourself, it's real MDE, which is minuscule dick energy. I just coined that.
Believing he had a lot of advice to give, Jeff, now going by Ender, began marketing himself as a lifestyle guru. His LinkedIn profile stated his job was a lifestyle design entrepreneur. However, a prescient 2012 tweet referenced a more alarming business venture.
Someone emailed me today saying I should start a cult. Free punch at my jungle compound.
So many problems with this. One,
rude. People died.
I fucking hate when people make light of Jonestown and drinking Kool-Aid. It's such a tired joke. It's also just like 900 people died, including a ton of children. Like, it's not something we should all be so casual to joke about. So one, it's problematic. Two, as a comedian, I'm offended because it's not funny. It's old. It's done. It's fucking tired. It's low-hanging fruit. He's been eating so many of those fucking bananas. He's just going for low-hanging fruit all over the place. Megan Plant was born in Canada, where she was raised in a Catholic family, something she and Jeff/Ender had in common. A free spirit, Megan later moved to Sedona, where she enjoyed creative and spiritual hobbies such as photography and Reiki. Believing she was a gifted psychic, Megan studied under a spiritual teacher named Altona Lamp. It was this New Age mentor that told Megan she should change her name to Shala. Or Shalia, or however, I've heard it pronounced several ways. Even she has said it different ways. So I'm like, if you don't even know what your name is, how is anybody else supposed to know?
That's the problem. It's like you take Shannon and Princess Leia and you smash them together or whatever. But you're right, because it's not, there's no reference. And then if she's inconsistent, it creates inconsistencies. She claims she was on a conscious journey and the name was intuited to her and she would channel it. The thing about channeling is it seems like it's a lot of sitting around and thinking, and I'm great at that. So I just want to say I can channel things.
Me too.
And God also talks to me too, I guess. But yeah, at this time she was apparently, Jeff said, oh, she was sleeping in a mattress on the floor of the garage. She was riding a bike in the desert heat. Her life was so terrible. And then we met.
You know what? I would take sleeping on a mattress in a garage and riding around Sedona on a bike any day over having to share a bed with this greasy motherfucker.
Yeah, dude, that hair fucking hanging over you. Goddamn.
So greasy. And then anytime I see people like that have really long, greasy hair, I ask myself, does the carpet match the dress?
It's like, she's probably going to say it. But then you pause. And then I had so much time to think about it and envision it. And now all I can think is that it's like so long on either side of it. And it's just like in the middle, just kind of like in the middle. And then it's just long on either side. And then just a little bit of hair on top and bottom, like his little goatee.
Yeah, and then it's like balls just have a tiny little tuft of hair at the top, and then tiny. Oh man,
Yikes.
Yeah. He's real gross. He sucks shit too. Yeah,
he's a patchouli ass bitch. You know, fucking Axe body spray and patchouli the whole time.
Through a mutual friend, Jeff and Shalea were introduced online in 2012. At the time, Jeff was still living in Hawaii and Shalea in Sedona. Jeff later wrote in chapter 1 of his book, Twin Flames, Finding Your Ultimate Lover, about their first encounter. After having commented on one of Shalea's online pics that she was
weirdly sexy,
Jeff recalled Shalea's reaction.
She messaged me that night. You horny? I blinked at my computer screen. This woman is ridiculous. Always, I replied while brushing her off.
Jeff continues the nauseating story, telling readers,
I'm busy with 9 million other women pursuing me, but the conversation with her continued. And within 30 minutes of talking to her, I had done something I'd never done in my 26 years of babe hunting. I asked her to marry me. This was half a joke at the time, but looking back, I realized there was something different about this kooky chick.
9 million women? We're gonna believe that 9 million women are pursuing this dipshit?
Yeah, that's, I would say that might be an overestimation.
I think it's an overestimation by 8,999,999. I
That's
think
true, because
this kooky chick is the only one that's trying to slide into his DMs. And it sounds like from the jump, they were both just trying to fuck.
Well, when you're a babe hunter, a certified babe hunter, he's out hunting babes. I hunt him. Oh, I'm hunting the babes.
In chapter 1 of this book, he hyphenates it, and that sent me for some reason. Because I'm like, one, this isn't like even a real
hunting, and he hits
it's
the
not
hyphen.
even a real like phrase. And then this motherfucker tried to throw a hyphen in there. It's just it's so gross. It's weirdly sexy is such like a negging thing to say.
Yes.
All of this is just so, it's just a foreshadowing of what is to come and how he looks at women, and also kind of how she thinks about women and herself too.
Yeah, to be like, oh, yes, the babe hunter plucked me from 9 million. I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky.
Over the next 4 months, the pair developed their long-distance relationship over phone calls, Skypes, and Zooms. Eventually, the couple decided that in order for the relationship to progress further, they had to meet in person. Jeff flew to Sedona, where he met up with Shalea in the parking lot of a motel. The official Twin Flames website describes their first meeting, remarking on how connected they felt to each other.
It was as if their hearts were greeting each other for the first time, even though they'd already been dating online. Shalea felt like she was finally physically meeting the man she had already known at the higher planes of existence. No words could describe what passed between them as they sat on a bench together. He was like, I kicked my sandals off and ran towards her, and I was like, I knew you were wearing sandals. You didn't have to say it.
He said, I threw my hat, sunglasses, and kicked off my flip-flops.
He's like, I yeeted my Oakleys, dog. I fucking yeeted my Oakleys.
On the website, which is so cringe. And very, very clearly written by them, 100%. It's so just like self-serving and egotistical. But they have this page that's like the first meeting, and then it's Shalea's recount of it, and then Jeff's. And it's like Jeff had traveled 22 hours, taking multiple flights and a long bus ride to get to her. So even from the beginning, he sounds like annoyed that he's having to make this giant journey. He's like, I was burnt out because I had been packing and I didn't know really what was going to happen. But then as the bus driver approached the motel, I felt a rumbling in my lower chakras. Vomit. I can't tell you how, I don't think any man on the planet has ever given me the ick more than this dude.
Honestly, I've looked into how black holes work and how it like whips in on itself and disappears. And I think I might popple myself into where I whip into nothingness and disappear into another realm. Maybe I'll meet my twin flame in the other realm. God, imagine too. I mean, the only thing that I know maybe the universe is just is that these two dipshits ended up with each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody else has to date them.
Yeah.
It's not just because of what they do with that relationship.
Yeah. When two idiots that are sacks of shit meet up with each other, it just makes one big sack of shit.
Yeah,
and
sad.
nobody ever likes a big sack of shit.
Nobody likes a sack of shit. That's why Santa carries a bag of presents. It's much more welcoming.
You don't want to be dropping shit down somebody's chimney.
Not at all.
People don't appreciate it.
They call the HOA.
Shalea described in more detail how she felt in those first few moments in the couple's very first YouTube video, saying,
the second I like saw Ender, I was just like, I knew like everything, and my whole body knew like, oh yeah, this is so right.
Shalea began to introduce Jeff to more mystical and spiritual practices. Investigative journalist Sarah Berman told documentarians that it was Shalea who contributed a lot of ideas on how to reach people who were seeking alternative lifestyles. Coupled with Jeff's business background and entrepreneurial desires, the two began uploading relationship advice videos to YouTube in 2014.
And that same video, she's talking about that she had offered to do the oracle card with him, which is something that he's into. And she, does it. And she's like, offered to do an oracle card reading. And he's like, I was into that. Like, let's see what you got. And then she goes, for no reason, and I can't stop thinking about it, Bazinga.
Oh, yeah.
Bazinga. Yeah. Like, keep Sheldon's name out your mouth. What the hell? He didn't do shit. Leave Big Bang. Leave Sheldon out of this.
It's such, the whole thing from the jump seems like an act to me. None of them seem sincere in like who they're trying to be. Yeah, she's trying to be like this free-spirited, like mystical Sedona hippie. He's like this, adventure gamer guy who just like said fuck it and moved to Hawaii and ate bananas for 30 days and lived in a hut. And it's like, this isn't who either of you really are. This is who you're trying to be because perhaps you're trying to find yourself. You think this is what other people want you to be. But it's just none of it reads sincere to me.
It's definitely performative because the nature of YouTube. And I think that we can talk more on what do we think, but it's interesting to see how being watched necessarily alters the nature of the relationship that you're putting on display. You're choosing to display this relationship. So then it's not just two of you in a relationship, it's two of you and a whole ass audience. And me and Christy too. So
and we are here to roast your ass.
Got a lot of hot takes.
And we're not the only ones. There's been many podcasts roasting these idiots over the past couple weeks, and everyone's doing a great job. Good job, everybody.
Good job, guys.
Proud of all of us.
Coming together.
Shalea uploaded a video to YouTube in April of 2016, informing followers of some major life changes for the couple. She shared that they had moved from Sedona to Michigan while showing off their new digs to the camera. More importantly, Shalea revealed that she and Jeff had gotten married 3 months prior.
And they roll into town in Michigan and hook up with all of Jeff's old buddies. And Jeff's friend's like, I threw him a party. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get you some beer. What do you want me to get? And he was like, yeah, he told me to get like 30 pounds of bananas and 30 pounds of beets and 20 pounds of spinach. And I was like, what the fuck is this man doing? And he goes, then we got there.
What kind of party are we having?
And he was like, it's not a virginity party again. So instead, he said to Jeff was like, he goes, he looked like a Greek Jesus going around staring at everybody. He's like, he would just like gaze at you and stare at you like he was going to read you. And it's so embarrassing to watch him try to do that to a journalist later. It's cringe. It's cringe.
Oh, it's so cringe. And it's something that makes me, and always has, so physically uncomfortable. Like, I would never in 1,000,000 years be interested in this guy because he just gives off these creepy vibes that are so off-putting and not at all sexy, in my opinion. It's quite the opposite. In fact, my vagina has clamped shut.
It's gone.
Having researched for this episode, it's like the Sahara. I couldn't be drier. It's
just a tumbleweed. My pussy drier than Ben Shapiro's wife's pussy. That's a throwback.
Oh, yeah. But he found somebody in her and she liked it, I guess. I mean, enough to start a relationship. And, there's something to be said. And they talk about this in their book. When you start a relationship online and you don't have that in-person stuff, you might feel less stable, more worried, like, oh, well, what are they going out and doing at night? I don't know. I'm just like waiting on a phone call or a Skype or something. But at the same time, because you don't have that physicalness with someone, you get to know each other on a different level, which is kind of how they said their relationship started. It's like we would, I said for at least 2 hours a night, I would dedicate 2 hours a night to talking to Jeff on Skype or Facebook, but that turned into like 8 or 9 hours, to which I say that is a work day. So what are you doing the rest of the day?
I rode my bicycle around and then I talked to Jeff online for something like 9 hours. What are you even talking about, you ding dongs? Whatever.
She said they would watch shows together. They would listen to stuff together. I mean, if they weren't such pieces of shit, we'd be like, oh, that's sweet. That's a great way to connect and get to know someone. Because I do agree with that. I think that there is, I know a ton of people that have met the people they're with online and they form a good relationship before they ever, you and Paris met on, I almost said Tinder. And then I remembered that is not the right one. It is Bumble.
That's right.
But if it starts off to me, they were just trying to have some cyber sex, and then maybe it just got a little kinky and they liked it, and then they decided to take it a step further.
Do you want to cyber with me for the rest of your life?
Yeah. How many times do you think
I want to do that?
To 9 million girls, he typed ASL in an AIM chat box.
ASL. ASL.
He's 25.
Banana Shack. Ender 25. Banana Shack. Current location. I'm in the Banana Shack. Come see me. There's always dong in the Banana Shack.
I was going to go a different way. I like dong better, though. But we both had the same idea.
No, you're right. If I didn't know so much about him, I might not hate him so bad. It was just a couple of dorks. Anybody. Certainly. But it's just a couple of dorks in love. But it's what you do with that love.
Yeah, for sure. It was at their home in Michigan where Jeff began laying the groundwork for multiple new age business ventures. Jeff's childhood friend Eric Rogers told Vice that his old pal would try just about anything to see if it would stick, saying,
every week it was some new thing.
First was the addition of a blog the wannabe power couple called Awakened Intimacy. Jeff was also offering what he called Divine Guide readings. Vice uncovered an archived version of the website that described Jeff's intentions.
Ask God anything you desire. Get God's message for you. Jeff is a channel of divine guidance and can bring you the divine answers you need when you need it most. Which they were doing from Eric Rogers, his high school friend. They got kicked out of his mom and dad's house because he didn't get along with his parents. They're living literally in their friend's basement. But when the friend is at work, filming these lifestyle videos in their friend's office going, look what I've worked for. If you listen to me, if you take my advice, you're going to get a house like this. Bitch, a house you don't own above which it's above a basement that you live in because you couldn't hack it with mommy and daddy. Mm-mm. Fuck off.
I also want to punch him in his face for speaking in third person when we know you wrote this thing. So don't say Jeff is a channel. Say I am, because you are the one writing this.
He's trying. I think it's a lot of the tactics that they use currently on the Twin Flames website. He was also using, and I think to his credit, I think he's looked a lot into SEO and social media marketing and marketing in general. I think that's about the only part of business school that he thought about was passive income and marketing, which whatever, good on you if it's not hurting folks. Mm-hmm. But that whole idea of I'm going to write this in a way, it's very targeted, very specific. And when you run it through something objective like ChatGPT and say, what do you think this was written to accomplish? And it's this is highly manipulative language. It's very pressuring. It's emotionally charged. Certain things like that he started that before even Twin Flames was a thing. He was already starting to talk ways of promises that you can't keep in language that's designed to be I'm the be all end all.
Yeah. Yeah. This was just the beginning of him, again, throwing spaghetti at the wall, see what would stick. And Eric said he'd start something, a website, and then the next week he'd shut it down and start a new one. And back in those early days of that, I mean, it was very easy to do that kind of shit, and nobody really was paying attention.
Yeah, not at all. It was just another, everybody had a website. Everybody had a YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Arguably the most dangerous was Jeff's spiritual healing website, where he boldly claimed to have the ability to heal people of both mental and physical ailments. Visitors to the site were greeted with a hopeful promise.
Are you suffering from a life-threatening or serious ailment? Jeff Ayon has been gifted with the ability to see into the root cause of your ailment and help you heal it for good.
Eric told Vice that when Jeff started claiming he could cure cancer, he knew their friendship had officially run its course.
And a friend of theirs in high school named Justin's mom had cancer and was part of that whole thing. Like he talks about like everybody knew that my mom had cancer when we were in high school. I had to like miss events to take her to surgery. It was really emotional. And then to see your former friend being like $50 for a headache, $15,000 for cancer. And you comment like, this is harmful. And to have your high school friend be like, well, I'm sorry about what happened to your mom, but if she had seen me, she would have been saved.
Yeah, he said, I'm sorry I didn't have my gift in high school so I could have saved your mom.
He hadn't fallen out the banana tree yet and gotten whacked on the head, which gave him the gift to cure cancer.
All that potassium is what gave him the gift to heal people, apparently. But it is so insulting. And also, we're seeing he's already completely comfortable with preying on people's vulnerabilities, finding people that are in emotionally low state. They're looking for any answers for hope. I mean, literally for life. And then they come across this idiot who's like, yeah, for 15 grand, I can cure your cancer. Imagine you are so desperate that you're like, well, I would do anything for my kid to not have cancer. So I'm going to put a second mortgage on my house and, get this money. Meanwhile, he is fully aware he can't do these things and he's completely okay with lying.
It tells you what you need to know about a person that here's the thing. There's two ways of this, and he's a piece of shit on both of them. Because on one way, he really can cure cancer, and he's charging people 15 grand a pop to do that. Fuck you. If you can cure cancer, you need to share that gift freely because it's so vital, and cancer is so horrible. My dad died of cancer. My grandma died of cancer. A ton of people I love. Everybody listening, I'm sure, knows somebody who's been affected by it. So when you make such a rude-ass fucking claim directly to a person who has suffered that you know has suffered, and if that were true, then you're an asshole for not going out and going to the cancer ward at every children's hospital and walking through like Robert Downey Jr. comes or Taylor Swift comes through. But it's much better of a visit because they get to leave for a good reason after you. On the flip side, so he's a piece of shit for not sharing it. On the flip side, because he can't and we know he's lying, he's choosing one of the absolute most vulnerable populations, which is people battling an incurable disease. And for that, he can suck my dick all the way to Pluto. Because I can't test. It's just heinous. It's heinous.
No, it is. It is. And she's heinous for being complicit in all of this.
For sure. To be like, I don't know, it's like 15,000, I guess. It's like a reasonable amount to cure cancer.
Yeah, he's definitely, even in the beginning and now, if you're watching the videos, you would say, oh, he's certainly in charge. He speaks 90% of the time. She is very complicit in this too. She kind of was behind the scenes orchestrating a lot of stuff. And this is one that introduced him into like these spiritual, oracle, metaphysical type things and made him feel like he has this kind of power that clearly he doesn't. So she's just sitting there kind of like, reaping the benefits of this money coming in and just parroting all his little catchphrases and whatnot. Looking like a ding dong. She looks like a total idiot that just has no original thought in her head.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it kept working.
Yes. And this is only the beginning. I'm comfortable as an attorney. This isn't defamatory. Promising someone that you can cure cancer is fraud and taking money for it. Full stop. That's fraud. The fact that he stopped doing it 10, 12 years ago, whatever, but that should just tell you everything you need to know about this person. Sinisterhood will be right back. Man, when it gets cold like this, it's almost hard for me to like get in the sleepy mood only because I'm just constantly like, I'm freezing. I'm just tense. I'm so tense. I need something warm, something that will help me relax and fall asleep.
Yes. If you're too cold, it's like your body, like I'm the same way. I'm like, but as soon as that heat kicks in, you're like, it's like you just melt. And internal heat can be found with the Beam Dream cocoa powder.
Yes, that Beam Dream powder. It's the healthy hot cocoa for sleep. Just mix Beam Dream into hot water or milk, stir or froth, and enjoy it before bedtime.
It contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, melatonin, and nano CBD to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and most importantly, you wake up refreshed. You don't wake up feeling groggy. You wake up like you just had the best night's sleep of your life.
Right. Sleep aids make you nervous because you don't want that, but Beam's got you covered. And today, our listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder, their best-selling healthy hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Now available in delicious flavors like sea salt caramel, cinnamon cocoa, and chocolate peanut butter. Better sleep has never tasted better.
Especially around the holidays. Yes, please.
Ooh, it's perfect.
A recent clinical study revealed Dream helped 93% of users wake up feeling more refreshed, and 93% reported the Dream helped them get a more restful night's sleep.
Find out why Forbes and New York Times are all talking about Beam and why it's trusted by the world's top athletes and business professionals. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Sinisterhood and use code Sinisterhood at checkout.
That's shopbeam.com/Sinisterhood and use code Sinisterhood for up to 40% off.
Sweet dreams.
Jeff and Shala continued to expand their businesses, specifically targeting the spiritual dating community. In December of 2017, they launched their most profitable venture to date, Twin Flames Universe. Registered as a for-profit corporation in Michigan, Twin Flames Universe serves as the foundation for Jeff and Shala's relationship coaching business. Jeff, who also claims to be the second coming of Christ, defined what a twin flame is in a YouTube video.
Your twin flame is your ultimate lover, your perfect complement of all.
Alice Hines, author of the Vanity Fair article that inspired the docuseries Desperately Seeking Soulmate, gave her opinion on the idea of twin flames.
A twin flame is like a super spiritual soulmate, someone who's actually the other half of your soul. So there's this divine component to it where the connection that you have with your twin flame supposedly continues across multiple lifetimes.
Indeed, this idea of a type of supernatural soulmate can be found in many religions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, and evangelical Christianity. In 2020, Megan Fox brought popularity to the term when she described her relationship with Machine Gun Kelly.
Instead of a soulmate, a twin flame is actually where a soul has ascended into a high enough level that it can be split into two different bodies at the same time. So we're actually two halves of the same soul, I think. And I said that to him almost immediately because I felt it right away.
This type of connection is one most people search for their entire lives, a sentiment Hines echoed in Desperately Seeking Soulmate, saying,
"It's an idea that's really gaining currency." And it's not anything new. Plato said, we were all together. Humans had 4 arms, 4 legs, but they got too big for their britches, so Zeus threw the lightning bolt down and split us up. That's a famous one. The Alice Hines in her article writes about a doomsday cult leader back in the 70s who used this term twin flame and then was like, and also get a bunch of guns for the Armageddon. So
I believe Louise Hay, I believe is her name, is also like another spiritual leader that came up with this. So yeah, it's nothing new. It's just
they didn't invent it.
No, it's just they learned about it somewhere and they decided, oh, this is going to be our thing. This is what we're really going to. We're putting all our bananas in this basket,
whole big old bushel.
Seeing an opportunity to capitalize on this currency, Jeff alleged to his online followers that he was able to communicate directly with God and asserted himself as the sole authority to validate twin flames unions. He and Shala promised that members who did the inner work through their Twin Flames Universe courses and coaching were guaranteed to find their twin flames.
To me, that's an interesting term that they repeatedly say again and again. It's guaranteed. We're guaranteed you're going to find in these early videos. And then there's some backpedaling and some caveats later.
Maybe a lawyer or two got involved.
Yeah,
at some point.
Was like,
yeah.
Can't say that.
But there was a lot of, tons of videos that are like, if you go through this, we guarantee you will be in harmonious union. If you spend an hour with me, I guarantee you I will cure your PTSD. That's
1 hour.
Yeah, that's not how things work. And it's so harmful and dangerous to try and tell people that it is and prey on those vulnerabilities. Then you get their money. They think, oh, maybe I feel a little bit better. Of course, it's not cured. And then, they continue to suffer. Well, he's forgot about it and completely moved on. Or they keep coming back and he gets a repeat customer and he keeps stringing them along with different types of shit.
Yeah, you think of different ways to try to keep these people together. But sure, it's the same shit, different days. If their souls are connected to this expanse of time and space, I imagine at some point they were together in front of a wagon selling snake oil, like back in the 1800s.
Members are encouraged to sign up for classes even if they can't afford them. A promotional video on the Twin Flames website asks potential newcomers,
What if there was a way for you to have your ultimate lover? Would $10 million be too much for you to be with them?
Bitch, yes.
That's so many dollars. Also, your true love ain't gonna try to ask you for money. What the hell?
If someone said to me, we have Tommy in this world is not, he's the one that I'm trying to get to. They're like, we got the perfect guy for you. You're going to have to pay us $10 million.
Yeah,
well, I guess I'm living a life alone because who has that?
No, it kills me online if you see like incels be like, women nowadays, they just want to stay at home with their cats and their weed chews, watching their reality shows. Like, I was like, heaven, you've described heaven. And it's like, what a bunch of loser. They're weed chews, like they're marijuana chews. Like,
oh, I thought you said shoes. And I was like, tell me more about these weed shoes.
They're my Taco Bell Crocs.
Oh, yeah.
My slides.
Yeah. Oh, do you mean the perfect evening? That's what you've described to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, but it is interesting that they're positioning it as, again, it's this language, this manipulative language of like $10 million is a lot. And you're like, I would pay 10 million. Oh, it's only 10,000. Okay. Yeah. And it's not okay because the classes, one of them is life purpose, which for a lot of people, they said it was crazy. I really want to be a musician or a painter or whatever. And then that life purpose class, it turns out it was going to shock you, by the way. The life purpose of almost everybody that took that class was to work for Jeff and Shalea for free.
Oh, well, isn't that convenient that everybody that was their purpose ended up there?
It's just coincidence.
Total coincidence. Former member Kay told Time magazine that even the cheapest class at $111 a month was more than she could afford. Still, her assigned relationship coach was insistent she could pay more.
A lady literally walked me through the process for signing up for a PayPal credit card. I was 18. I'd never owned a credit card in my life. She was pushing me to do it. Thank God I got declined.
Kay went on to say that she believes the company's motives are insincere, saying,
"It seems more that they're interested in the money than they are interested in helping people and making sure they're okay."
Oh, this makes my stomach turn because you're 18, you're looking for love, and the naivety they take advantage of that you don't realize because a lot of people don't know, like something like that, like signing up for a credit card and then you max it out and you're unable to pay it. Your credit is wrecked for fucking years. You're 18. You're probably trying to get your first apartment soon. Well, you can't because of all this. Yeah. So like these people, the relationship coaches that are working under Jeff and Shalea are encouraging them to destroy their lives.
Yes.
All for the sake of, well, you want your twin flame, don't you? $111 is nothing compared to $10 million. Also, all their fucking classes are in like angel numbers. It's like $111 or $1,300 or $222. It's just, you're doing too much.
$2,222.
Doing too much.
Way too much. And everybody that was selling those relationship coaches are really just trying to sell classes because to be a coach, you have to take all the coaching classes and you have to buy the videos and you have to buy every single product that comes out. So even if you're making money as a coach, you're still being forced to spend it back up with Jeff and Shalea. And it's way more about the money coming in. They said there's phone call recordings of him talking about, you guys fuck you. My business depends on you. Like, I want you to do your fucking jobs. And meanwhile, these people weren't getting paid for running, a business.
I was just about to say, so you say Jeff and Shalea.
Jeff and Shalea, master certified. It's master certified ascension.
Then certified ascension.
Then the underlings. Then the open Facebook group, which is more people, and then the people that are out watching on YouTube. And then, Michael, when you take a marker and draw it across, it's a certain shape. Yep. It's a certain shape that Michael Scott is familiar with.
Certainly is. Jeff and Shalea also established a downline revenue stream that offered a chance for members to become coaches themselves, complete with promises of a 6-figure income and the dream of owning a private jet, according to Vanity Fair. Coaches, however, had to pay a licensing fee and purchase ongoing courses and training from Jeff and Shalea. Some members spent over $10,000 on training, and so far, it seems none have purchased a private jet.
And one lady said it was 20 grand. Another person said it was 10 grand that they spent. And in one of those videos when Jeff's like, oh, everyone just says, oh, I don't have any money. I'm so poor. Look at so-and-so. And he lists somebody off. He's like, people in third world countries are paying me for this shit. And that bitch lives on, he goes, she lives in a 1 bedroom with her son and a mattress on the floor. And bitch gave me like $4,000.
Oh.
I'm not misquoting him. There's footage of him denigrating, mocking the people that he's like their divine master and go, bitch gave me $4,000. Here's a video of my Porsche, which is again, MD, minuscule dick energy. So to think that you are in my opinion, absolutely taking advantage of a person who is not in a financial position to give you $4,000 and to say, bitch gave me $4,000 tells you what a misogynistic sack of shit he is. And we hadn't even brush the surface of how misogynistic and shitty he is.
No, we have not scratched that surface. To your point of the Porsche.
Oh, God.
When they move into their like dream home in Michigan that's on all this land, money can't buy taste, Heather.
I just wrote new rich trash like on my notes.
The fake stone fireplace and
New
the
money.
fake stone that is featured throughout the house. And when I say fake stone, it's like when if a high school theater was putting on a production and you needed to build a castle and then they were like, here's what you have to work with. It is so like cartoonish looking. It's just ridiculous. And he's taking this Alice Hines, who is doing this piece for Vanity Fair, taking her around like, here's my pool. I got a slide. This is, and this is a Porsche down here. I got the extra package, so it has the lighting underneath. Not everybody learns to drive a Porsche. That's not the car they learn to drive on. And then Shalea's like, oops, I did.
I had to learn to drive a car, and it's like a Porsche that we had. It's like I never know what she's even saying because her mouth's closed half the time. But yeah, that's the footage of her.
Though that they're like
consumerism, materialism, greed is disgusting. Capitalism. He's obsessed with Warren Buffett. He's not a spiritualist. He's a fucking capitalist, and he says it behind the scenes to your face. He lies in the YouTube videos, and he's a happy little everything's so great. And then you look behind the scenes, and he's like, "You fucking people are making me poor because you're not selling more." They said that they needed to sell like $60,000 a month. And it's like, so you can buy this ding dong, a fucking new Porsche or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you take that and extrapolate it out to, the person talking to Kay is going to push for a PayPal credit card because she's getting yelled at by this asshole. And then also is trying to recoup some money for all the thousands she's dumped into her own classes. So it's this awful trickle down effect, like in so many MLM schemes. And to watch their gross new rich display of wealth that they just openly flaunt. I mean, in a way to where intentional flaunt to their followers.
On purpose.
Like, look at all look at all this shit you could have.
Just a picture of a watch.
Yeah.
It's like a Versace watch, or he's like, it's a photo of her like at the counter at like whatever, Neiman's or some mall, and she's buying like a Chanel bag, like, hey. And I'm like, he thinks that every dollar that's been given to us is representative of a life and someone that we helped. But if you read internal emails, he's actually just a high pressure sales boiler room kind of thing. I mean, one of the emails, he was like, our income sucks. Like you people, you're all have been poor as fuck for a long ass time. And when will our team decide that we want to be wealthy and handle our own wealth? When will the starvation actually hit you so much that you act? Because the gold that I placed before you clearly doesn't glitter enough to motivate you to go after it. It's like sending these emails of like, you fucking suck, you losers. Fucking sell more classes. And then on the YouTube videos, it's like, hi, I'm Jeff and this is my Porsche. Do you want to get in it? And she's like, I love the leather interior. Like, it seems so fine. It's like lifestyle. Like, they're not great lifestyle influencers. They're all right. But they have this ability to suck them in. And when people have that sunk cost, they were saying, I spent $20,000 to be in this. I got to make some of it back so I can through coaching. And if I'm a good little girl, I'll get patted on the head by Jeff and sort of determined to be a wonderful coach. And I get all these customers.
It's also completely hypocritical because they started off this whole thing saying, don't you want to find true love? Isn't that, none of us are complete. Shalea loves to go on and on about on the website about how women aren't complete until they find that man. And we'll get into all the very dangerous heteronormative beliefs that they have. But it started off like all based in love and harmonious union. And now, very quickly, they have shown their hand and just been like, oh, all we care about is money. But then they still are like, no. Forget we said that. Let's go back to our online classes where everyone's talking about how it's going with their twin flames. And, it's just like the arrogance that they feel like they can get away with treating people like that. And then those same people will keep coming back, which many of them do, because in my opinion, this is a cult. At the very least, it's a very high control group. And these people are vulnerable, damaged, and looking for something that they think they have found and are being completely taken advantage of.
By two ding-dongs who are like, check out my Maybach SUV. And it's just, it doesn't buy you class or make you interesting or funny or smart. It's literally just money.
No, he's like, look at all these crystals. We put $15,000 on these crystals. I'm like, you're fucking talking about that on a YouTube video to all your followers when people are telling you like, this is all me and my son have, and I just really can't afford this. Maybe stop buying all these goddamn giant amethysts that Shala has determined one is male and one is feminine, and she sits by them every day so they can talk to her. Maybe.
So what are we going to do today, crystals?
What's that? Well, Shala, we're going to sit here like we do every day because we're crystals.
Oh, I'm going to sit here like I do every day because I don't fucking work at all. I deserve rest. I deserve rest.
We're going to yeet ourselves into these pools because we can't fucking take being around the two of you anymore. It's just so gross and such a lack of self-awareness.
That's it.
That like you're okay with you're okay with everything you're doing, and you think that you're a badass for doing it.
That it's just it's all perspective, right? He looks in the mirror and is like, "I'm a king god," and everybody else is like, "What a fucking loser."
Keely Griffin was working in a grocery store when she first met Colby, a coworker that stepped in to help Keely out when she was feeling overwhelmed at her job. Keely told interviewers from Netflix's Escaping Twin Flames that she saw Colby's kind gesture as a sign from the universe that he could be the one for her. The pair began dating and everything was going great at first. Then, to Keely's dismay, Colby told her he wasn't ready for a serious relationship and ended things. Keely admitted to filmmakers that she was
devastated.
Keely tried to move on from the relationship by moving back home with her parents, halfway across the country from Colby. Still, she longed to be with him, telling documentarians,
I couldn't stop thinking about him.
Desperate for answers, Keely tried Googling some of the feelings she was having. Familiar with the concept of twin flames, she specifically searched for twin flame couples. That's when she discovered Jeff and Shala and began watching all of their YouTube videos.
And as we move through Keely's story, it's pretty much a picture perfect snapshot of how a person could get involved with this. She's, relatively normal, working with a coworker, who hasn't dated a coworker. And then in a moment of desperation, sadness, weakness, this person you love doesn't want to be with you. You just Google something innocuous and your whole life changes.
Keely told filmmakers that she related to everything Jeff and Shala talked about and found comfort in the Twin Flames Facebook forum, a like-minded community of thousands of people, many of whom were also trying to heal from heartache. She recalled thinking,
oh, this is a safe place for me. This is great.
Ex-member Aracelia felt the same, sharing,
I just felt really loved and embraced. I was emotionally, mentally, psychologically, spiritually, practically, physically invested.
This is where it starts to get real sad. Because this, in the beginning, the Facebook group had a couple thousand. We're at like 40,000 today. So, I mean, it's and from all over the world, not just the United States, but, all over the world, these people are coming together and sharing their stories of heartache, how they long for someone to spend the rest of their lives with. At the same time, it could be a bit of a echo chamber and a dangerous bubble when everyone that's in this group, especially the leaders, are like, you need to do whatever it takes to get your twin flame back. Like that person that you broke up with that doesn't want to be with you. No, You need to do whatever you need to do to get them back. And then you have all these people encouraging very dangerous behavior that we'll get to in episode 2. I mean, straight up stalking, harassing. Yeah. People file restraining orders because, like you said, no one is telling them no. No one is saying this isn't a good idea. They're just getting this fake confidence that they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, and you're right. I remember being heartbroken, my first breakup, other breakups. I was irrational. I wasn't thinking clearly. I wanted anything for the pain to stop. So of course, when you're faced with somebody who's like, I'm going to tell you, not just because I'm smart and know things, but God has ordained me and I'm so brilliant. I can talk to God and he has told me that in fact, that is your twin flame. That is your love. And then having someone fixate more, which I believe in psychology, he's just not that into you of like, cut them off. Don't talk to them for 30 days. It will get them out of your system. This is in fact the direct opposite and encourages people to obsess about someone who is expressed. They have no interest. This is my boundary. And it is designed specifically to tell them. And this is again where I might perhaps disappear. So if I do after I say this, I love you and I love my family and I love our listeners. But he tells them they have to be honey badgers of love. And I remember when I was in law school when Honey Badger came out and was very funny in 2012. And it was funny for about 14 minutes in 2012. And this man, this fucking dork that runs this thing has been like, Honey Badger doesn't give a shit. You got to be like the Honey Badger of love. And she's like, yeah, Honey Badger. Yeah. It's... And if you don't violate people's boundaries, ignore when they say, please don't contact me, then you're a twin flame pussy. Yeah. And you can't be a twin flame pussy.
Not an abuser, which is what in any other circumstance we would call this. And it's also fair to point out that the majority of their clients are female. So if you had a ton of guys that were like, don't fucking listen to what she says. Go over there and break down her door. She doesn't want to be with you. Drag her to your house. Make her. Everyone would be up in arms. But because it's kind of flipped and you're like, oh, well, it's less threatening because it's a woman. No, it's not. It's still harassment. Yes. And also not just harassing other people, but you are psychologically damaging these women that you are giving all this false hope to. You're mind fucking them.
Oh, every single one of them, that talked about their experience, and I can imagine and actually I don't have to imagine, both Alice Hines and Sarah Berman, two of the journalists that have really cracked this story open, both said they're like, I've talked to people that were like, you can't use my interview. I'm still just not over it. Like, she's like, Alice was like, they would start talking and then would just like sob, hyperventilate, whatever. And it's like, I get it. Like, I'm not, if you're ready to talk, I want to hear, but that's the damage of this, of you got to be, and it's couched in such a ridiculous way that I think is part of it, that he tries to clownify himself, not hard to do, but then
that's a good way of putting it. Clownify himself. He tries to be like,
I'm not serious.
Yeah.
Jonestown. And he's not a good comedian. So it's transparent to people in a rational place in their life. But for someone undergoing heartache, isolation, loneliness as the pandemic came around, which we'll get into later, that's all like, oh, he's harmless. He's a funny guy and they're in love. So I can absolutely see why someone would get sucked in, especially the YouTube videos. Because if I didn't know more, like I said, if I didn't know much more about him, I'd be like, oh, they're kind of cute, adorable couple. But you're like, no, they're fake ass motherfuckers.
I think having Shala there too softens it, especially for women. They're like, well, she's there and she's happy and she's agreeing and everything. So if it was just him, I don't think it sells as hard.
No, exactly. Because then it's a man in a room, in a digital room of women going, you're being a pussy right now. You're being a liar. Ding, 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 ding. Liar bells. Liars are going off in these group classes. He's like doing shit like that. It's
so embarrassing.
That's the word.
It's so embarrassing. It's so
denigrating.
Just fucking rude. Yeah. And degrading and condescending. I'll be goddamned if anybody is going to talk to me like that, let alone someone I've paid to try and help me.
I know. And I think it's just a testament to how ingrained in this world he was able to make them. Like, I am God. I am telling you this. And there are a lot of things inspire people. Love, health, money. I mean, these are all things that he's promising them. All of those things.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much Cult 101.
Yeah. We watched that show narrated by Peter Dinklage.
Cult 101?
He talks about how to be a cult leader.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And this is, I mean, you prey on people's vulnerabilities. He also, And even in one of the docuseries, I'll call her Megan because that's all he refers to her as, her father, who is mortified with his daughter's behavior, is like, she was the one that was kind of into all that. He just knew how to set up cameras and film stuff. So the two of them got together and they made this business thing, but it was never like started off on sincere footing.
Yeah, it was more like, we got to sell something.
Yeah.
Promising that you can cure cancer is fraud. You're probably going to get busted for that. So let's pivot to something else. I can guarantee you true love.
Yeah. Which no one can do.
No, only yourself.
Encouraged by Jeff and Shalea to buy their book, Twin Flames, Finding Your Ultimate Lover, Keely did so, and then purchased the online classes they offered for $222 a month. Initially, Keely found the classes transformative, specifically the mirror exercise. Introduced to Shalea by her former spiritual mentor, the 4-step exercise has become a cornerstone for the TFU body of work. The process is explained on the official Twin Flames website as follows. Step 1, identify the upset. For example,
I'm upset with my twin flame because they're ignoring me.
Step 2, change all of the nouns and pronouns to point towards yourself.
I'm upset at myself because I'm ignoring myself.
Step 3, ask yourself,
is this true?
For this step, Jeff and Shalea tell members that the answer is always
yes, because you can only ever experience your own vibrational frequency mirrored back to you.
Step 4, give yourself the love you desire. In the final step, members are instructed to
speak to the inner part of yourself, which is upset, and love yourself completely in this space until you feel relief and peace where you once felt upset.
Journalist Alice Hines explained how harmful this exercise can be.
If you're constantly being told all of this is your fault, you really lose track of reality and who you really are.
This can be especially dangerous for people struggling with self-esteem issues or ones that are in abusive relationships. Members of TFU are told the mirror exercise is the one tool you need to find your twin flame and be in harmonious union, defined by Jeff and Shalea as
living one life together in harmony with a shared purpose as you were created to be.
So this exercise also is nothing that they invented. They just, like everything, they just kind of cherry picked from different things to form their whole school.
Yeah.
But this can be extremely harmful. If you are in an abusive relationship and you're being mentally, physically, sexually abused by someone, and then you're changing that to say, I'm upset at myself because I'm abusing myself. No, you aren't. Someone else is abusing you, and you are now internalizing that shame and guilt and abuse even more, which is going to significantly make your situation even worse. It's psychological damage that, if can be undone, takes years and years of actual therapy, not just some Yahoo spouting off on YouTube.
No, for sure. And it's the idea too is to have a permanent walking scapegoat in the form of every customer can't complain to Jeff and Shalea or their coach, or anybody in the triangle that's above them, because as soon as you try to argue, the answer was always it's you though. Just mirror exercise it. Just mirror it for yourself. So it really lets you off the hook. And also my thing's like, the fuck is this coach getting paid for if they're going to be like, just mirror it, turn around. I got their free PDF handout when I signed up with a throwaway email address, and they just made that bitch on Canva. I recognize the fonts, man. I use Canva too. And so like, they didn't make any of it up. It's a Canva form, which again, it's just insidious to specifically find people, which some of the coaches said we were told to go to fibromyalgia groups, to injury groups, to PTSD veterans groups, finding anybody who's heartbroken, down, in pain, and then making them be like, but it's really your fault, but also can I have $2,500?
Preying, literally preying on victims, not even waiting for someone to come to you. You're going out and hunting for these people.
Yes. Not babe hunting, victim hunting.
Yeah. Keely continued performing the mirror exercise, and 9 months after they had parted ways, decided to reach back out to her ex, Colby. The two began hanging out again, occasionally posting pics online. Jeff saw the pics and told Keely she needed to move back across the country to be with Colby, officially declaring that he was Keely's twin flame. Keely followed orders and left her family in Massachusetts to move in with Colby, who lived in Oregon. She gave Colby Jeff and Shalea's book and had him watch their online classes. Colby was all in on the program, and he and Keely dove back into their relationship. Keely told filmmakers that Jeff and Shalea emphasized how important it was for Keely to post pics of her and Colby to the Twin Flames Facebook group, along with happy relationship updates. Most importantly, all positive things that the couple were experiencing were to be attributed to Jeff and Shalea.
And both the docuseries show DMs from Jeff and Shalea or text or whatever that are like, why aren't you posting more? There should be more pictures. What's
God
up
has
with,
given you this. You should be happy. You should be sharing this with everybody.
Yeah, I'm not saying, listen, this isn't from Jeff telling you to post stuff. I'm saying God told me that you need to post.
Yeah.
God told me you need to post nice things about me on the internet.
God's been on Facebook, and he's not happy with the lack of gratitude that you are showing me in this Facebook group. It's so gross.
Yeah.
And it's, again, just empty of any kind of sincerity, and also just adds so much pressure. You're like you were saying, when you're performing for a camera, it alters your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are now in this relationship, but you're like constantly being pressured to post like happy updates, well, like so many times on social media, it's not true. It's just the facade that people are putting out there. And then
highlights.
All these other members see it and they're like, oh my gosh, well, Keely and Colby got it. So it's real. We can all do this, guys. We can all do this if we just stick together and demand that our twin flames love us back.
It's true. And for some people who didn't have their twin flames, look to that. One of them's Angie. She's interviewed in, I think in all the docuseries and the podcast. She's like, oh, I saw Keely come in and was like, she's doing so well and she's half my age. I've got something to learn from her. So that's kind of the thing, is that you have unearned praise, attention, whatever, piled on a person who was in a low place, felt dumped, was trying to improve herself. So if it's it's a perfect mixture of like a predator spot and prey out of a crowd going, that one, I can get that one. And it's nothing Keely did wrong. It's just a place she was in her life and, showed up to a place and unfortunately got sucked in. Yeah.
Jeff took a special liking to her, which I don't imagine it's the first time he's done that with a female student.
Probably not.
And, said, you don't even have to go through all the courses. I'll just make you a coach right now. I'll make you and Colby coaches right now. So now they've got people under them. They're in their early 20s and people that are, in their 50s, and there's nothing wrong. We can all learn from people. But when the people you're learning from are not being sincere because they are being forced to put on this act for everybody, well, then the advice you're getting and the guidance isn't something you should probably be looking into. It's, they're not the best people to be telling you that stuff.
No, not at all. I think he glommed onto couples. Anybody that was already a couple, it was like, oh, yeah, tell everybody.
Mm-hmm. During a weekly online class, Jeff announced that Keely and Colby had achieved harmonious union, the ultimate goal for a twin flame couple. Fellow students were elated for the couple, all of whom longed for the same outcome. In this Zoom call, Jeff asked another member if
our school has fulfilled its promise.
The member answered yes and admitted she wanted the same thing for herself.
So that's what it was. They're taking couples that were already together. And in part 2, we'll talk about Anne and Katrina, another couple where they were already together. And then Jeff's like, oh, I am also declaring that you're the most amazing and the best in order to flatter them, love bomb them, keep them, and then use them as false advertising, essentially. Because Keely says, I was not happy. I was miserable. They told me you need to post this on the website. And then they received monetary compensation based on these posts that Keely made under them. I don't know. That's an interesting question of like, is that false and misleading advertisement that you're now putting couples out to say they're so perfect, just be just like them, when in fact they weren't together because of all that. Like Colby joined later. And then that whole, designation of harmonious union in that picture, you're just using it to try to sell more classes.
I also think it's very problematic that he refers to it as, did our school fulfill its promise? Yes. I think that word implies a lot. It's not just like, hey, is this fun group that we've got together? If you're calling yourself a school, there's implications that come along with that.
A Twin Flames Ascension School. Just trying to add fluffy words and jargon to make it sound legit when it's made up.
Jeff and Shalea set up a GoFundMe for Colby and Keely, encouraging other members to donate in order to help the new couple start their lives together. Keely revealed to interviewers on the Netflix docuseries that behind the scenes, Jeff and Shalea privately contacted she and Colby to tell them exactly what to use the money for.
Like down to the curtains that we were going to buy. So you know them curtains were ugly as fuck if they picked them out.
It's so controlling too, though,
yeah,
right?
It's super. It's a sad part.
It's very controlling to set up this GoFundMe because now you feel beholden to these people. Oh, they've helped us so much financially. I mean, they raised nearly $6,000. You feel also like all these other members have donated to us being successful, so we got to keep it together.
Yeah.
And then the control extends to, we will send you an Excel spreadsheet that tells you exactly what, like links to like what you need to buy and how much this is. Like, I mean, that level of control is so insidious, and you then owe everything to these people.
Yes.
You can't look around your apartment without being like, well, if it wasn't for Jeff and Shalea, we wouldn't even have this ugly fucking couch right now.
Right. And that's exactly a way to put it, of coercive control, because they have all this control and you're coerced to agree, because if not, you lose your soul family or whatever, and money, all the money you put in, the potential money you can make for being a coach. It certainly does rock and hard place you.
During another online meeting, Jeff announced that Keely and Colby were getting married, a decision that had been made after only 2 months of dating. Colby admitted his dad thought they were moving too fast, but Shalea disagreed, saying,
There's something that feels right about this pace, right? It's like natural.
If you're watching the video, that was pretty spot on when she's just sitting there in her little fucking chair next to Jeff, just her makeup just so bad.
Somebody just needs to help her with that.
Yeah. And then I'm not saying you can't date for 2 months and get married and it works out great. For most people, that's pretty rushed. And instead of someone stepping in, like Colby's father, who's like, you sure? Y'all are pretty young and you don't know each other that well. They're like, 2 months. Oh, you guys are moving too fast. I bet that's what everybody said. No, it's totally natural. Like, you guys know, right? And also those rhetorical questions of like, right? Like they present it in a way like you can't disagree with them.
Their speaking style is often right. Yes. Funny. It's these rhetorical devices in order to make them seem more relatable while simultaneously exerting control. And the Twin Flames Ascension School teaches about your energy leaks, that if you want to attract your twin flame, you can't leak energy. Well, somebody telling you not to do Twin Flames universe is they're leaking energy. So you got to close that leak off, AKA you need to cut your family off if they tell you not to do this. But don't worry, because that's just a regular family. We are your soul family. And I know, because I talked to God directly, that it's real and it's more real. We've been family for a lifetime. So then you also can't leave, because you've been told now, not only have you cut yourself off from your other family, but you've been told that God thinks this is your family. Yeah.
And because you have been coerced into cutting off your actual family
and friends,
if you were to leave this group, you have nobody. You know, you've kind of they've intentionally made you pigeonhole yourself into like being completely dependent on them
for money, for food, for relationships, and for friends.
Despite the pending nuptials, Keely was having serious doubts about her relationship with Colby. She told filmmakers from Netflix that things began to feel like an obligation rather than decisions she felt proud to be making.
A lot of the things that I did, I felt like I had to do, not just for Jeff and Shalea and like my relationship, but because I felt like the community and the people were relying on me to do those things.
Keely recalled thinking,
maybe we did it. Maybe we healed something big and this will help everybody else. And she did. She said when they told her that she was a twin flame harmonious, she felt euphoric and thought if everybody could be happy and in love, then the world would be peaceful. And it's true, but it's also, she was not happy and in love at that time.
No.
But they're telling her to fake it till you make it, essentially, which doesn't work in a not so great relationship.
No. And because she doesn't want to let anybody down. Yeah. It's not even like herself letting down as much as thousands of people that have looked at them as inspiration. Like that's a lot of pressure.
And part of Jeff telling Keely, you have achieved a harmonious twin flame union, the HTFU, which we'll get to that. That's my acronym. But when he told her,
she's taking it.
We'll talk about it later, but it's my acronym. But when he says, yes, Keely, you achieved this. And by the way, now you have the same power I have. So you, Keely, can now determine when someone is or is not with their true twin flame, which saying that in front of a Zoom full of people, the people listening were like, oh my gosh, we want to sign up. And again, monetarily, whatever, yeah, she's making a little bit of money, but she genuinely had good intentions, Keely did, and was like, oh my God, I need to help as many people, not knowing that it was just snake oil. It's that mirror exercise over and over again.
No, she seems like a really good person. And they were making, $60 a pop on their coaching sessions, which they split, which that's nothing for all the energy it takes on those calls, and then like the pressure, and I imagine
and how much you spend.
Yeah, and it's not something you can switch on and off. Because Keely's a good person, so at night, unlike Jeff, who just goes and fucking lays on a floaty in his pool, she's like, man, I hope I gave some good advice today. I hope I'm not steering these people in the wrong direction.
Right. And if she was an actual trained mental health counselor, there are things that help you deal with that. Like, your ethics responsibility, but when you just got randos on the internet, like Teal Swan, these people, Linda Good McGillis, there's Bentino Massaro. I mean, the list goes on where they're unequipped and not credentialed to be doing this. It also, the underlings, it does some damage to them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's a lot of trauma and shit she has to hear about other people.
Very true. Yeah. Indeed. Jeff and Shalea had seemingly anointed Keely and Colby as the poster children for TFU. They were the first couple to successfully find harmonious union from scratch. In the early days of the program, Keely had even invited her sister, Marley, to join, wanting her to experience the same kind of fulfillment. However, as Jeff's teachings progressed, Keely became more and more disillusioned with her relationship, telling interviewers that Colby felt
entitled to my body and my everything.
A misogynistic ideology Jeff preached. Followers are taught that
if your man wants sex, then you need to give him sex,
according to Keely. I would like to just say right now that nobody owes anybody sex, and full stop.
If you're so horny, tug your own pud. I'm not. Come on, man.
There's lots of ways to get around that without having to force someone else to do it. And it was really sad because she's telling the interviewers, like, I felt like something was wrong with me. Like, if I didn't want to have sex, if I wasn't in the mood, I felt so shameful. I felt like I was letting down my twin flame. I was letting all these people down. I would just do the mirror exercise over and over. So now you already have these feelings of guilt and shame. You're internalizing them even more because you're telling yourself, no, I'm the problem. I'm the one who doesn't want to have sex with myself. It's like, no, bitch, I'm tired.
Yeah, sometimes I'm not trying to.
Goddamn, I got shit to do. Yeah. I'm not trying to fuck you every day. Jeff, in one of the videos, he's like outside on a patio.
This one, he's like,
oh, I hate it so much.
We're going to talk about twin flame sex. It's so great.
So good. So great. You could have a fuck in just one fuck and it'd be like, it's great. But twin flame sex? Yeah. Twin, and that's his O face too. Twin flame sex is like great sex all the time. And then all these former members being interviewed are like, yeah, they really harped on, you should be having great sex all the time. And it's
every day.
That is a big component of romantic relationships. It isn't the only component. And when two strangers are harping on it so much, that's when my red flags start going off. Because now I'm like, how many steps away are we from full-on orgies or sexual coercion of other students? I don't know that it hasn't already happened, perhaps.
Right.
But if you're that concerned about other people's sex lives and you talk about it in such a gross way, it's not spoken about like you would with a therapist, like respect and like, he's like, Shalea says I'm well fucked because I get it all the time. And men have to have sex every day. Well, sorry.
Yeah. For her to be like, she's like, he fills me up. It's like, no, he doesn't.
No, there's no way.
No, but the sex thing, the fixation on sex is interesting because I think honestly, it's another point of control that you can exercise domain over. And him saying like, everybody's a virgin until they've had sex with their twin flame, bitch. Then you need to give that white T-shirt back from your party 20 years ago, trying to roll like, so you lied. Those beers were on your friends and they thought you actually had sex. You twin flame pussy. You didn't even lose your virginity. But the idea to put focus on that is misogynistic, and also I think it appears to just be another way to control people,
which we see time and time again in cults, like money, sex, relationships. Those are all the things, autonomy that cult leaders, try to control. When Keely tried bringing up her feelings and concerns during class, she was humiliated and shamed by Jeff. The self-appointed lifestyle guru chastised her, saying,
"It's just you being a woman. It's just you being feminine."
Sitting next to Jeff, Shalea parroted this, telling the couple,
"The second a woman knows she can control you, it's over. It's not sexy at all. The sexual chemistry is done." And then she takes a big suck off her Yeti cup.
You had that. You got 2 Yetis.
Yeah. This one, it's Jesse Spano from, it says, I'm so excited from Saved by the Bell.
That's
and it has Dr.
one.
Pepper, zero sugar. And the other one is water because I'm trying to be good.
You got to balance. Life's all about balance.
It's all about balance. But yeah, she just sits there, like you said, and parroting. And again, he is yelling misogynistic things at this woman he's like, this is a small quote. And he's literally going, okay, Keely, nagging and complaining and moaning and whining. You're whining, Keely. So like, maybe if you're a husband that didn't want to get hollered at, you probably like that. And it's worth the $1,200 or whatever a session to get somebody. But that is not appropriate counseling. It's not at all. They're not qualified.
I've seen many counselors and none of them have ever spoken like that because that's not a measured, unbiased, helpful way to talk to someone. You're taking one person's side, the man's, and then making everything fit into that ideology that you have, that women are just there to serve the man. And that's about it. So shut the fuck up if you think otherwise. And then Shalea's just over there fucking agreeing with everything. And it makes me infuriated because I'm like, bitch, I want to just shake her and be like, what are you doing? Like, you're taking the feminist movement back fucking decades with this bullshit. Stand up to this idiot unless you really believe that. But I don't know. Who's to say? She may love it. She may fucking love it. She may have a lot more going on behind the scenes than people realize. So she feels like, I can be a little demure on camera because I'm running the show behind the scenes. Or she looks at herself every night in the mirror as she takes off the eye makeup and it's just like
thick ass fucking palette from Walgreens palette, just some chromatic, weird chrome, bright. It's just a lot. I think she's a failed makeup influencer, honestly. I mean, I think they're both failed other influencers and just found a way to sell to people. But yeah, that's the question. The ultimate question is like, what's her level of complicity in this? And it seems like behind the scenes, she just be resting a lot is what the underlings were like. She didn't do any work ever.
Well, it's like NXIVM too. With Alice and Mac, you start off as maybe a victim, but at some point you become complicit. And I'm not even saying that Shalea started off as a victim. They started off together in this whole thing. But the more and more she becomes a part of it, even if you're not as vocal as he is, you're still as complicit.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, because you're sitting there watching him say, you're nagging, Keely. You nag him a lot. Are you done nagging? And the way he like stares into the camera and Keely's just like, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. And you're being abused. That's also so embarrassing that
this is not in a private one-on-one session. There are thousands of people on this Zoom call that are watching you be berated by this guy. As you sit next to your fiance, who they both look very uncomfortable. Even Colby, who's like, well, things aren't going great because I've kind of realized I don't like it when Keely tells me what to do. And then Jeff's like, well, yeah, of course. No man likes that. Of course, your woman shouldn't be telling you what to do. Nagging Keely, are you just nagging him? But they both look, even Colby, like, I don't think that what this guy is saying is something that we should be agreeing with. And you just see the light just drain out of Keely's face as all of these online classes that they show progress. Like, she just looks more and more unhappy as it goes on. And it's so sad because all she wanted was happiness. She had a hard childhood. Her and her sister did. She got her sister into it because she thought at first it would really changed her life. Her sister, which we'll talk about in episode 2, had her whole own shit show of experience with her twin flame. So she's all she's wanted is like to be loved, and then to have somebody berate you like this. Keely, if you're listening to this, I want to give you the biggest hug because you seem like such a sincere, nice person who deserves all the good things, you and your sister both. And I hope that you are in a place now where you feel like you're doing better. Because in the documentary, you could, even Marley, like you said, had to stop in the middle of telling her story. And it's like, this is really hard to talk about. And you just see how raw it still is for them, because it's not just the money is one thing. That's not even what bothers them. It's the heartache and the feeling like internalizing all this guilt and shame and blame for years that like you don't even know who you are anymore.
No, and taking any normal actions that a husband and wife, spouses might have of, pick up the pick up your clothes off the floor, clean up the kitchen or whatever. To have that turned on you and denigrate you in front of people, and Marley being her sister, knowing your sister's a part of this, knowing you just feel so dug in. I would agree. Keely, I will give you a hug because you're a fucking hero for stealing the hard drive. Or I'm sorry, not stealing, for taking with you a hard drive that was already yours and it was given to you. And but for that hard drive, I think a lot of their misdeeds, Jeff and Shalea's misdeeds, would not have been exposed. So for all whatever abuse she was complicit in the group, I think when we know better, do better. And I feel like the second you know better, you're like, I'm blowing the lid on these bitches.
For sure. The idea that men are entitled to their partner's body whenever they desire is prominent throughout Jeff and Shalea's teachings. During one online class, Jeff mockingly recalls an incident where he wanted to have sex and his wife didn't. Proudly, he tells his followers,
I threw her on the bed. I jumped on top of her.
Again, Jeff mockingly impersonates Shalea, saying melodramatically,
No, get off me, no. And then we're making out.
Throughout this disturbing admission, Shalea smiles and giggles while sitting next to her husband.
She does give a laugh. She said, I was just trying to get changed and put on some clothes. And he's like, I went up behind her. And he says, like, and then that's when I threw her on the bed. And she's like, like the laugh starts to get like louder. And I was like, she seems embarrassed.
Yeah. There are moments where she seems embarrassed. She seems like, oh, I don't think you should have said that. But she doesn't say anything. Yeah. She's kind of got like, well, yikes look. And she doesn't say anything on camera. Off camera, who knows? But if they're in this relationship where the man is the leader and controls everything, I imagine she doesn't feel like she has much of a voice. I mean, clearly she's like, no, I'm trying to get ready. And he's like, fuck you, throws her on the bed and forces her to make out with him with his greasy ass hair hanging over.
If you're thrown on the bed, he's probably looming over you and oh no.
Yeah, it's so gross.
Oh no.
In another one of their YouTube videos, Jeff's rampant sexism is once again on display as he attempts to wax poetic about the female psyche.
You're so frustrated and pent up, and finally the divine masculine comes home and we can have sex.
The heteronormative idea of a divine feminine and divine masculine is another cornerstone of the TFU teachings. The misguided idea that in every relationship, one person must be feminine and the other masculine is one Jeff and Shalea deeply believe. The pair translates this notion to mean all relationships must consist of a man and a woman. This harmful ideology reached new heights when the TFU leaders began matchmaking within their own community, demanding many of their followers change their gender identity and pronouns in order to achieve harmonious union. One of many boundaries the Terrible Two have no problem breaking and exploiting for financial gain. So what do we think?
I will save my opinions on the illegalities and stuff for later episodes. But for now, I would like to focus on what I have deemed to be the Elon Musk paradox,
Okay.
which is it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how much power you have. It doesn't matter how many businesses you start. It doesn't matter how many rockets you try to take off and then they end up blowing up because you're bad at it. It doesn't matter how many businesses you tried or how many bananas you ate. If you are a fucking cringe dork, nothing will change it. It will never change for you, Jeffrey Phillip. It just won't. You can have $100,000 Porsches, and at the end of the day, you are nothing more than a scrawny little rat boy, little rat-faced boy, pretending to be Jesus. That's the other thing. In about March of 2018, this motherfucker was like, I'm actually Jesus. And anyway, all those pictures of Jesus were actually me. Here's another thing I'm going to say, and I mean it. Our Lord and Savior's not named Jeff. He's just not. He's just not going to be named Jeff.
You don't think
it's just
so?
Not. No.
I'm sorry, but do you know of Jeffrey Bezos? I'm pretty sure our Lord and Savior is named Jeff. Yeah, it's what a ridiculous, just out of the blue admission to make. Like, yeah, by the way, I'm Jesus too.
And she
His
goes,
parents have got to be so fucking embarrassed and ashamed that they
as they should
raised
be.
this man. I mean, for sure. But yeah, at the heart of it, at the end of the day, when you're surrounded by your fucking crystals, you are still the biggest loser who is taking advantage of all of these people who have been and will always be better than you, despite their financial situation. You are a loser. Your wife is a loser. And the two of you need to fuck off to the moon forever and take your crystals with you.
And to be like, this one's a boy crystal and this one's a girl crystal. It tells you everything you need to know about their fucked up notions of heteronormativity, which we'll talk about in the next one. But it's just trash with money. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they might be like, I'd rather be trash with money than poor with class. You have put your things in the wrong bucket. If you're Jesus, read the Bible, then, you dumb fuck. Read the red part.
He wrote it. He lived it.
Oh, never mind. My bad. Okay, well, then he needs to reread it because he don't know it as well as he knows his own Twin Flames whatever book. Because the whole thing about greed and whatever it takes and swearing at people and all that shit ain't in there, from my recollection at least. But I absolutely reject the notion that the Master Christ is named Jeff. It just isn't. It's just not. And as a person I've been getting messages from God. I got one while I was walking the other day. I was just walking. I said, I think God just talked to me. I'd take my long walks and all that. And I typed it out. I don't remember.
What'd she say?
She said, Jeff entered. Oh, let me do the voice. Hi, it's me, God. Jeff Ender Divine is an embarrassing pussy. He's not the Master Christ. He is only a cringe lord.
Amen.
See, I channeled you guys. I did it. Follow me at htfu.org to join the Master Army.
That is a registered domain that Heather has bought for the next 3 years. And there's some forthcoming information.
I got to start my series, my YouTube channel on how you Heather the fuck up. That's what HTFU stands for. I'm coming after these people. But for real, I think for this person or this episode, I know we ripped on them a lot. Fair enough. Because they are rip-onable. If you look at any 3 seconds of a video of them and you're like, as a comedian, I have so many ways to roast this person. But we roast them because, at least I am, because of the pain in my stomach and the irritation and anger and righteous indignation. As an attorney who represented victims of scams, watching this shit play out just gets my goat. It just gets me. It gets me. And I'm sorry for everybody that's lost money, lost family members to this, because it's, dumbass and funny as they are to laugh at. The flip side of it is pain, anguish, separation, heartbreak, mental disturbances that is going to take years to undo, PTSD. They are fucking people up with this, and I hate it.
Totally agree. And in part 2, we'll talk more about just how much they have destroyed families and, demanding people send letters, cutting off all contact, mothers just getting letters from their daughters saying, like, this is the last time I'm going to contact you. I can't imagine the pain that comes along with that. And seeing your kid online in these videos, just you're like, I don't even recognize who they are anymore because these two nobodies. These people are nobodies. They are literally YouTube influencers that tried their hand at a ton of different stuff to influence. And this one happened to stick. Why? Because it is a very easy way to target a vulnerable community and make money off of it. People want to be in love. They want to have somebody to spend the rest of their lives with. And some people, they are convinced that's all that's going to make them happy. And then they find a community that tells them, oh, yeah, you're right. You're never going to be happy unless you find your counterpart. And, oh, you don't have your counterpart? Well, here, let's match you with this person. Oh, but that's a woman and I'm not into women. That's okay. We're going to make them become a man and they're going to get their haircut and we're going to have them go by Dan and change their pronouns. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And this is all stuff we will cover in part 2 because it only gets worse and it's so insidious and gross. And it's what really gets me is that something that started out as just like filming shit in their friend's living room has now gotten to this level. It's so out of hand. You know, it's like it's wild to think like people like this can legally go on doing this. But throughout the docuseries, you see law enforcement like get called by family members or stuff for wellness checks. And every time it's like, well, are the people there their free will? Well, they're adults, right? This is of their free will. To where one of the girl's sisters like, well, I don't know. Would you define coercive control as free will? Which is a very good point. And no, I would not. I don't think I think there is mind control at play here. And so that kind of takes away your free will.
That's a great question of what mental state are you in? Do you have the competence to enter into a contract or whatever, and you did, and ongoing and adherence to that contract given your mental state that you're in? And we'll talk about how they use their MAP program, which is a sort of a Teal Swan-esque mind control kind of device that it's real easy to pretend like you're God when you know everybody's secrets.
Yeah. And it's real easy to know everybody's secrets if you pretend like you're God.
And you pretend like you're a psychologist. Is that what you just said?
Did I just say it in reverse? I meant to say it in reverse, but did I say it the same way?
You said it in reverse because you're right. Because he's like, you need to talk to this because I'm talk to this therapist because I'm not therapist. You need to talk to this doctor, whatever, who's not really a doctor in psychology, and talk to them. And because God says that you need to, I'm God, I say that, and then they do it, and then catastrophe follows. So that will be part 2. But part 1, I think he is a victim of the Elon Musk paradox. I hope he doesn't become a billionaire, but I bet if he had enough money, he'd probably take a ride on Elon's shuttle. He seems like the type. If you're all like horny for fucking Warren Buffett, then I'm sure he's probably just as horny for Elon Musk, which is like another fucking sad thing to me whenever you hear a person idolize. Not that Warren Buffett's some heinous person. I mean, he's an investor. He's like bought companies, and to the extent our participation in capitalism makes us complicit. But to idolize money that way, and it just shows. Like, it's not shocking that when he does get it, he flaunts it like a sad ass new money bitch, like, because he's literally obsessed with money from the jump. And honestly, that is the one thing that makes me feel bad for him. How sad it must be that you value that over, that you're willing to do so much damage and destruction, because that's how much a cool watch means to you. It's so vapid and it's so sad.
And do your due diligence when you're looking into groups like this. And if we're able to know all of this backstory about him, it's at everybody's fingertips. And now I think that more is coming to light with these docuseries. I hope more people see them for who they really are. But when you dig into his background, you're like, oh yeah, he's just always wanted to be a business magnate and be a billionaire. Well, then that should tell you all you need to know. He's willing to say and do anything to get money. So like, don't believe any of the bullshit that's coming out of his mouth.
True. And I think they did a really good job up until about 2020, whenever we'll get to in part 2, keeping it under wraps to be able to trick people. But my mom's always like, says who? And that's a great question to ask yourself if somebody's trying to sell you something, sell you on doing something, giving away your money, of like, who are you to ask me to, or even a podcast, like, who are we to talk about it? Well, I like to think we're researched. I'm a lawyer. Christy has, we both worked with victims before. So if you're vetting out what you're listening to or what you're paying for, asking like, who is this person? I'm going to go look up their LinkedIn page. I'm going to go, I'm going to do a little digging. And then you can feel better about if you do actually want to give them $2,000. I mean, before I chose a new counselor a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I'm going to Google this person. I'm going to Google their license. I'm going to Google, what they say that they've done these research studies. I want to make sure they have so that they're equipped to work with somebody who has, ADHD, who has these things. And it all checks out. So yes, so it's just hard because when you're in a desperate, sad position that you're depressed, you're lonely, you're suffering from some fibromyalgia, from PTSD, from something, and someone comes up to you and goes, "Hey, it's just this one thing, and everything will be better and be fixed." And
I have this miracle elixir. I just need $500 from you.
Right? You desperately want everything to be fixed, and you're like, "Take my money," and they go, "Okay."
Yeah. Time and time again. Well, we will get into even more of this shit show in part 2 and most likely a part 3 as well. And in the meantime, if you haven't checked out the docuseries on both Prime and Netflix, go do so because, I mean, we covered a lot, but these cover even more. And also so much of this is watching their videos and seeing how they act. So you can hear us talk about them, but you got to see how they are too.
For sure. Yeah. And if you or somebody you know is involved in Twin Flames or whatever, first of all, get out, stop paying for them. You just log off. But if you were a victim of that, do not feel bad about yourself. You absolutely fell into the clutches of a unscrupulous person who is looking for someone who is willing to turn their wallet open. So
like you say, it's not your fault if you get bit by a snake. That's just what they do. You're just walking by.
And this snake has a Jesus haircut.
He sure does.
But he's still the same. It's copy and paste. The same shit, different day. And I'm just always sad when people get tangled up in it.
For sure. This episode of Sinisterhood is made possible with the help of our amazing patrons.
If you're interested in supporting the show, consider joining our Patreon. You'll get access to ad-free regular episodes, weekly bonus content. You're able to vote on episode topics, join our monthly live streams, and more.
Keep it creepy.
Mwahaha.